the last episode of Dragon Ball Daima has been released, and it's gonna be a controversial one. And the main reason I say that is because it seems like a lot of people's predictions were right. And there's still gonna be questions that are gonna arise from people. At the time of recording of this video, I'm unsure if Super Saiyan 4 has been fully or thoroughly explained. Make sure to check the pinned comment below to see the updated version of this. However, regardless of this, there's still a lot of things that we have to address. The first being the fact that, from my understanding, there was no memory wipe. At no point in time did anybody in the cast get their memory erased or anything of that nature. Dragon Ball Daima did happen and everyone remembers about it. And as a matter of fact, we may have hints that Dragon Ball Daima will actually return later. But we'll speak about that in a minute. First, let's summarize what we've seen in this episode. The episode begins where the last one left off with Super Saiyan 4 adult Goku versus Gomah, and it looked incredible. The animation sequence was really good, and there were a lot of shots that made Goku look amazing. It seems that Goku in Super Saiyan 4 as an adult was able to push Gomah to a point that we've never seen before. There were times where the evil eye would empower Gomah, but Goku was still able to overpower him yet again. It kind of reminded me of GT Super Saiyan 4 when he was fighting against 𝗕𝗥𝗄 Shenron, I believe, where he was adapting slowly, or becoming more powerful. Seemed like Goku was doing that here as well against Gomah. Similar to when he was a kid, we get a 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 sequence from Goku, and this one looked insane. Much better than when he was a kid, and honestly, probably the best thing in Daima thus far. Many people like myself were wishing that he would have did Dragon Fist when he was fighting Gomah instead, but the 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 was okay. This one was so powerful that it was able to punch a hole in Gomah, and break through one of the demon worlds as well. Which is kind of ridiculous considering the barrier that they needed to be put behind, and it wasn't believed that they could be crossed any other way. I'll have to re-power skill that 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗧 sometime later. This puts Gomah at a standstill for a moment. The evil eye is going to keep adapting, however, for whatever reason, this one is able to hold him in place. It's at this moment that Piccolo goes to try to hit Gomah in the back of the head 3 times, but of course he's unsuccessful. Gomah's third eye makes him even stronger and is able to heal what Goku did to him. Majin comes out of nowhere and secures the win. And I guess it's humorous in a way? I don't know. But all you crazy people in my stream saying that Majin would be the Supreme Demon King, well, you were right. And honestly, I am utterly speechless. I guess that cape that Tabora was wearing in his outfit is symbolic of being the Supreme Demon King. So that's kinda cool. When the fight settles and the dust finishes, Majin is the Supreme Demon King. And it seems like he wants Rinsu to be his queen. So I guess she gets her wish to rule the demon realm, but hopefully she gets rid of those collars and everything like that. When the fight's over, it's time for everyone to say goodbye. We see a brief scene with Goku and Vegeta, and it seems as though Vegeta is confronting Goku about the whole Super Saiyan 4 thing in the first place. He mentions something about a Super Saiyan bargain sale, and I think Goku talks about Super Saiyan 3 as well. Make sure to check the pinned comment, as I will update it when the English sub comes out. So it's very possible we get somewhat of an explanation here, but note that Neva isn't being present in any of these dialogues. He's not saying anything about this Super Saiyan 4 transformation, and I can say that for a fact. So this is where the problem might start arising. Sometime this week I'll drop a video talking about this very topic in particular, but yeah, it's gonna cause some controversy. Introducing a new transformation, not really explaining it, and just allowing it to be there is gonna do more than cause an uproar. There is no memory wipe, so if this does tie to Super and things of that nature, Super Saiyan 4 is a thing. Now, this doesn't exactly mean that it's not connected to Super just because it doesn't get explained, and I'll explain that in a separate video, but I do understand where the confusion can come in. When Goku's fighting Gomah, he drops the bag. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, I guess that means they're out of the fight. But I thought at the very least if we would see a Shin Kabuto fusion or something like that, and without any of these things, people are going to rave. Now, bear in mind that it's possible Goku did say to Vegeta the same thing he said at the end of Super, and I'll just update that in the pinned comment. But even if he does say that, it doesn't necessarily explain how he was able to become a Super Saiyan 4, which is its own problem, but it will settle the transformation not being used in the future. Since we're already on the topic of this new Super Saiyan 4, let me tell you my thoughts about it. The very first problem with this form is that it has zero foreshadowing. In Dragon Ball Daima episode 18, the new form made its debut, and unless you knew about spoilers beforehand, there was no way you could have predicted this. All the way up until this point, we hadn't seen Goku even using his full power. All his opponents so far in the Daima series could be beat with just plain old Super Saiyan for the most part, if even that. GT is similar in this way with baby Vegeta, but the foreshadowing for Super Saiyan 4 in GT was carried out much better. In the same way, it wasn't until the last minute that Goku actually decided to whip about Super Saiyan 3, it was immediately after his loss that the Elder Kaioshin began building the anticipation for the next power. Clearly, Goku couldn't win with Super Saiyan 3, and fusion with Vegeta was out of the question since he was the enemy he had to fight. This set the stage for fans to wonder how he could triumph through this one. Whereas in Daima, even though similar events play out where Gomah pushes Goku to go Super Saiyan 3, and soon after this Goku loses and clearly is in need of further power, it seemed like he had other options. The joint bugs were introduced very early on in the series, and if anybody anticipated anything in the fight with Gomah, it would have been a bug fusion between Goku and Vegeta. Yes, Goku did drop it during the fight, but the way that it was shown seemed like it would come back later. When I first watched this scene, I got the impression that the show wanted me to rule out fusion for now, which had to be done since everyone had been thinking about when it would happen since the show began. But for this fusion that's been building up to be tossed aside and then Super Saiyan 4 to fill in its replacement, it gave it anti-foreshadowing. If the focus was supposed to be on Goku unlocking power beyond what he previously had to combat Gomah, then that should have been what was teased episodes ago. The only thing we did know was that this Neva guy had extraordinary powers. We're aware that he created the Demon Realm Dragon Balls, separated the Demon Realm, and commanded Tamagami beings of immense power, so we can understand how he would have the power to give Goku this form, sure, but that doesn't make it more compelling because we can somewhat understand it. Neva as a character is meant to represent Elder Kai in this instance, being the old wise magical being that helps Goku unlock his potential, which they both do, but in different ways. With Elder Kai, it's explained that he's been able to sense the dormant power within Goku that even he isn't able to see. This is consistent with his character, as in the previous series, he knew Gohan had immense potential as well and drew it out of him. Although I'm not a fan of how GT went about unlocking this potential, when Goku starts becoming an Ozaru, everything makes sense. This hidden strength is the dormant power that the Great Ape utilizes in the modern age. The tales of the Super Saiyan who appeared as the Golden Ozaru in Vegeta's story is made to be the real legendary Super Saiyan all along. This is an anime only scene, but GT is made off of the DBZ anime rather than the manga, so this makes sense. Because the Saiyans lost their tail, they lost access to this power, and by regaining it back, it only added to what they already achieved in life. This is only true in GT, mind you, but it doesn't matter because it made Super Saiyan 4 that much more tying into the lore. When Super Saiyan 4 is introduced in Daima, there isn't even dialogue in the transformation sequence, something that's extremely rare in Dragon Ball as a whole. These quotes from the onlookers become essential parts in the story building of the form and really tell us how to perceive not only the power, but the impact of these different forms. I can admit that the animation does look very good, but that's pretty much where the compliments stop. You can debate about the design of the form, but even that left a bad taste in the mouth of many. It clearly being Super Saiyan 4 from GT, but not having it transform Goku into an adult when he takes the form was a mistake for sure. In a way, it killed some of the mystical introduction that Super Saiyan 4 initially came with in GT. Somehow, this form was able to bypass the wish made by Ultimate Shenron, adding to the allure. Daima pretty definitively made Super Saiyan 4 a magic form since it was never that unlocked Goku's power, and still somehow it doesn't bypass the wish? Yeah, I don't get it, but I guess it's better now for marketing, right? Since you have a mini and adult version of Super Saiyan 4? Yeah, whatever. The aesthetics aside, we come to our next problem with this form. We don't actually know how Goku achieved it. Sure, never use his magic, whatever that means, but it doesn't explain anything. When you introduce a new form, the most important thing on your to-do list should be explaining how someone achieved it, especially if there was absolutely no foreshadowing prior to achieving it. When you don't explain it, the form loses its meaning in the grand scheme of the story. When this initially happened, fans came up with reasonable explanations before the show could even say anything about it. The most popular one being the fact that Neva's magic mixing with Saiyan genetics creates a form Goku couldn't achieve on his own. Similar to how Neva powered up the Tamagami, the same thing would be happening to Goku, but since he's a Saiyan, the effect is different. This would have been perfect to insert into the episode with Neva being the one to explain it. As a matter of fact, it could have even been in the very next episode as well, if the show didn't skip over explaining the form entirely. Then, as a bonus, in the words of Goku, he can actually turn into a Super Saiyan 4, without the need of Neva giving him power, which completely killed that fan theory and their only chance at a reasonable explanation. So not only do you introduce a form with zero foreshadowing, but you don't explain it either? And as the fans were supposed to care about it? No, I don't think so. So what do you guys think? Are you a fan of the new Super Saiyan 4 or aren't you? And if you're not, tell me why. And if you are, definitely tell me why. This is MajinBird, but we're on a different host of show today. This is the same podcast, a place where me and my buddy Mike here talk about all things Dragon Ball related, whether it be GT, Daima, Super, or OG Dragon Ball, even expanding out to the movies, games, and everything Dragon Ball related really. If you're interested in discussions like this and engaging with us live, you can subscribe to the channel. We go live every Sunday and Thursday sometimes too. So be sure to subscribe and check out the other stuff we have going on. Until next time, MajinBirds.